You missed Graveyard Carz Season 9, huh? Okay, that's up to you. You can do that if you want to. But I'll tell you right now, Graveyard Carz Season 10 is the best it's ever been. We got more cars, more graveyard, more cool. And then I'm gonna back up, and don't put this in the edit, but I'm gonna back up real cool. Sorry, I almost ran you over. I'll back up all cool. Hit me for good nerve, Matt. You damn good now. Well, on in it, you better not start.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
On this episode of Graveyard Carz, Will gets the Walton's Daytona from the body shop and fast tracks it into the paint booth for primer.
The whole thing looks really good.
Mark and Allysa test out Torino's newly restored dash before installing it into his one of two Hemi Convertible. But a problem with the convertible top motor may put on the brakes for this 7-figure restoration.
I need one of those right away.
In Springfield, Oregon, Mark Warman, together with his skilled ghouls,
It has been established that the unburied dead are coming back to life.
bring classic Mopar muscle cars back from the dead to look like they did the moment they left the factory floor.
Because of the obvious threat, this station will remain on the air day and night.
What's happening, D-Team?
Morning, Will.
Mark and I have a new understanding for Season 10, and it's actually a really good one. He's pretty much given me control the whole back half of the shop. I come in early every day like usual, and now I have my whole team that comes in with me. We can avoid all of his crazy, stupid point, and we can actually get some work done. You guys know why I call you that, right?
Because we're dynamite.
I call him the D-Team just because, Chip Foose had the A-Team. So I figured if I started them out lower at the D-Team, we had something to work our way up to. How's it going?
Good. Just lining up last to the spender.
That's all wrapped up?
Yep.
Cool. George started out with no experience. He was a good welder, and that was it. He's worked really hard over the past few years, and where he's at right now is as good as it's ever been. And if I'm gone, I can expect George to take over the shop when I'm not here correctly. Well, we got the Daytona this morning. I want to get it in the booth and get it primered. Are you happy with the panel alignment?
Yeah, it went really well. I put a lot of work into the Daytona. I lined all the panels. It was my first major car being on my own. I couldn't ask for a straighter car.
The whole thing looks really good, actually. The Daytona came in as a very clean, original Survivor. So when you have a car that's that clean to start with, when it comes back from the dipper, it's just that much easier. So, we rolled it over to George, said, hey, get all the panels hung so we can start our body work. He had it knocked out in like a day, did a great job on it, so that it goes right out to the body shop. Not much body work had to be done on this car. So now I'll be able to get it primed and get it painted even quicker because it was a clean car to start with. No, looks good, bud.
Well, I'm glad you're happy.
So I'm heading to the shop right now. We've got a busy week. Will is going to do the primer work on the 69 Charger Daytona. That's the one from about 3 seasons ago where we introduced it. We weren't sure if we were going to restore it or not, but we did decide to. So it's been disassembled, dipped, and now Will is ready to do the primer work on it. I am leaving Will alone this season, you might be happy to know. I have faith in him. I don't feel like I need to keep an eye on him 24/7. So he is free to fly. Fly, little birdie, fly. We got our dash back from Instrument Specialties for our 1970 Coronet RT convertible. Remember, that's a 426 Hemi 4-speed car, only one on the planet left. They only built 2 in the beginning. I built a test bench, a really special test bench, so we can go through and double check that everything's working like it's supposed to. So I'm going to work with Allysa on how to test the different components of that dash. Once that's done, Doug and I, with hopefully Royal's help, yes, Royal Yoakum, are going to install the dash in the car. Larry's coming out to do the convertible top. Once that's done, we're going to put the Bumblebee stripe on it, and that's going to be ready for its final assembly next week. Snarkler! I walk into my office like I always do, and I check my messages like I always do. And of course, the very first one has to be the one that sets the tempo for the whole day. In this particular case, great man, great friend, Brett Torino, owns the 1970 Coronet Hemi Convertible, one of only 2 in the world. You got the only one left. Calls up to find out how the car is doing. So what Brett likes to do is he doesn't like to chew people out. So he just apparently went back and found the episode when I promised him his car. Recorded it and played it into my voicemail. And just for the record, I am slightly behind what that date was.
So George and I have walked around and looked at the 1969 Daytona. Car looks great, so at this point, it's time to roll it in the booth and get primer on it.
Why is that? Who brought? Did you see him bring that in?
I think Dougie brought that in.
Okay.
Right here.
That's the convertible top motor for the Coronet. I have to get this handle, right? Because I know we're behind on the car. I know it's got to be done. As it is now, I literally have 2 days from now to get the problem fixed, installed, and functional, all right? So I'm gonna have to call Ed down at Classic and see if he can next day it to me. So I'm sure he'd just be thrilled.
Dougie said that he already told you that it was broken a week ago.
Dougie didn't tell me any such thing. Dougie's a liar and a fat mouth, all right? So I have to call Classic Industries, see if they have one in stock, and if I can still make it in time for like a next day delivery. Because Larry's coming out to put the top on. I don't want to cancel that, because every time you cancel that appointment, you go back 2 more weeks. Hey Ed, Mark at Graveyard Cars. It's our convertible top motor. I need one of those right away. Okay, thanks. There is no doubt in 1970, Dodge had its groove on. Coming out with the Challenger Trans Am was a bold move. Standard equipment on this particular car was a fiberglass rear spoiler and a fiberglass hood. Standard was a 4-speed transmission.
Tony D'Agostino interrupts this program to inform you that Mark the Iceman Warman has made a mistake. In the case of the Challenger TA, neither transmission was standard, but it was a required option, meaning that whether you chose a 4-speed or an automatic, it added cost to the car. To quote Mr. D'Agostino, this was stupid, because they should have included the cheaper trans and made the higher cost trans the option. But they didn't do it that way. Now, back to the feature presentation.
Standard also on a Trans Am. The blacked out grille, the flip top gas cap, hood pins, painted left-hand outside mirror, front and rear sway bars, power disc brakes. This car was made to go fast in a circle. Nobody's ever done anything before, nobody's ever done anything since. Lastly, it's the only American car to leave the manufacturer back in the day with 2 different size tires on it. A G6015 in the back and an E6015 in the front. That, my friends, is your corpse of the week. So I just came up with that during the off season. I think it's pretty cool.
So I haven't seen my dad for about a month. He's been locked away in the engine room with Doug, building some type of cart to test our dashes before we install them.
Now this dash just came back from Instrument Specialties. They do a beautiful job, no doubt about it. Everything is gorgeous on it. And I know for a fact, because I talk to Mike all the time, he checks them before they leave. But then imagine it's getting put into a crate and sent 3,000 miles. Anything can happen. So now we put it in the car, assuming everything works. Next thing you know, I'm underneath the dash upside down trying to change a bulb or a gauge that's not working. So I built my own test bench. So this bench allows me to be able to simulate exactly what it would be like if it was in the car, except that if there's a failure, I can fix it right now by just walking around to the back side of it, replacing the bulb, cleaning up the wire connection, what have you.
So this is a totally new aspect in the shop that I haven't seen. So I'm pretty excited to see what my dad's gonna show me.
Now we have power going up to our control panel. So everything that I need to turn on and turn off, I do from here. But there are manual connections on the back side that I have to make with the different leads that I've created. The first thing I want to do is I just want to make sure that you know what all your instrumentation is.
Well, I've driven a car.
The very first set of gauges that you see right here, this first opening,
Yeah.
what do you believe resides inside that opening?
RPM.
RPM or
Yeah, it's an
tachometer.
RPM. So you know
Okay.
Okay, tack.
Tachometer. You see here, I have the word tack, so you can use the word tack. It's an
Yeah.
abbreviation of
Okay.
tachometer. All right.
Okay.
Now, the tachometer, it's true. It is on the outer part. What is on the inner part of it?
I don't know. Another tack or something else?
Yeah, they decided to have two tacks.
Well,
One
yeah,
that
why
keeps-
is it in there?
That's a clock. That's a clock
Well,
in the
that's the
middle,
stupidest-
and it's a tack
That's
on the
stupidest
outside.
design I've ever
That's
seen.
called,
Why would they do? You know what? They have room right here for a
because
clock.
you don't know what
They
a
got
clock
room right
looks
here.
like. It's stupid.
That's cute. Yeah.
Actually, from 1968 to 1970, they had a tachometer on the outside ring and a clock on the inside. So the clock got the tick-tock and the outside got the tack. So that's what made it the tick-tock tack. Okay, what's the next thing over?
Miles per hour.
Miles per
Is that the
hour, or
abbreviation?
we like to call it a
MPH?
speedometer, a speedometer, if you will.
Tomato. Speedometer, miles per hour. It's the same thing.
What's this?
That is the fuel gauge.
Very good. And
The temperature gauge.
now, is this because it's written in there? Be honest.
Dad, come on. You make me so mad. Oil pressure and alternator. All right, now that we've gone over that stupidness.
Beginning to wonder about that fruit of my loins.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that she takes this and opens her mind up and tries to learn something, because this is great information. Stuff that took me years to learn. She gets to learn in just a matter of hours. So back here you see this little set of studs that are coming out, and they're all named. These match the exact same names that I have on the control panel. When you're talking about your fuel gauge, your temperature gauge, and your oil pressure gauge, they all have 12 volts of power going to them all the time. The thing is it's not a constant 12 volts. So they have what they call a CBR. It's this little device that's up inside the dash that when it gets 12 volts of current to it, it pops open and closed. And so instead of sending 12 volts to the fuel gauge constantly, which would make it go all the way over and cook, it sends pulses like
Regulates
that.
it, yeah.
So inside here, I actually have 3 of them
Oh,
regulated, because I wanted each one of those to have their own independent one so it could work off its own independent switch.
The front of the dash, I was like, okay, I got this. This is gonna be good. I'm gonna learn. And then he brought me around to the back, and I was like, why am I here?
This is the back of the circuit board. These are all the back side of those gauges. Each one of these, when you look at this and this and this, you see they have this common copper line together. Those are all hot. Those are all positive. So if I just hook to one of those and then change my ends from oil to temperature to fuel with my switches, I can send power to them through the CBR.
Okay.
This upper side that you see, which is like this one and this one and this one, that's the side that's counting on the signal from either the fuel tank, the oil pressure switch, or the temperature switch. And so I have those rigged up over at the front.
It's intricate. I honestly am having a really hard time remembering and kind of even picking it up.
At some point, Alyssa's gonna have to become even more involved in the shop. As we get busier and as I have so many things that I have to do. I mean, she's my go-to gal, right? She's my Agent 99, if you will. I put a ground stud in here, this grounded to the frame. So let me turn power on here for exercise, show you the temperature.
That means it has power
See
to
how
it, right?
but see how it's not steady?
Yeah.
It's pulsing?
Yep.
That means the CBR is working. If that was 12 volt solid going to those gauges, it would cook them. It took a long time to build this thing. I'm not that great at it. I'm colorblind, which is why all the wires are the same color.
God, how'd you do it?
Well, I use labels.
You know, like in
Yeah.
Rush Hour when they cut the blue or the red
Yeah,
and blue and
red
they brought
and
the
blue.
vest
Yeah.
on?
Somebody got to die.
Wouldn't
yeah.
want you to be the one choosing for me.
No, because somebody's gonna die.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm getting ready to put PPG's VP 2050 primer on the Daytona. It's a thick primer, as you can tell by the way it comes out of the can. When I go to primer, the first thing I do, I get the primer in the cup. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts primer, 1 part of the catalyst. Catalyst is what makes it hard and really lock down nice and tight. At that point, you got to make sure it's stirred up really well so it all mixes together and dries properly, then you're ready to go. Really, that priming and painting is the easiest part of it. It's all in the prep work. So make sure that prep work is money, looks the way it should, and you won't have any problems when it comes to primer.
Earlier, we introduced our corpse of the week, the 1970 Dodge Challenger Trans Am. Talked about all the standard equipment and just how cool the car was. The question now, to see if you were paying attention during that, is how many 70 Challenger Trans Ams with a 4-speed manual transmission like this were built? Was it 2,400, 989, or 686? Stay tuned after the break. We'll have the answer for you. right, Ghouls, how did you do? The 1970 Challenger Trans Am. Cool car. This one's a 4-speed. How many did you think they built? If you guessed 989, you're exactly right. 989 4-speeds, which were standard equipment on these cars. If you paid over $200, you could get the automatic. And 1,141 people did that. What you couldn't have done, no matter how deep your pockets were, is get a Challenger TA with a 3-speed manual. Let's just test the clock right now all by itself.
Okay.
Which is 12 volts constant power, because when you get in the car, you shouldn't have to turn your key on to have the clock work. Otherwise, it would lose time. So I am still working with Allysa on all of the functionality and how to test it on our dash assembly for the 1970 Hemi Coronet RT convertible.
So when you do this, is it going to start spinning or is it going to go slow?
The second handle tick.
Okay.
So first thing I'm going to do is make my connection to the clock, which is right here. I'm going to turn my power on and...
Hey! Yep.
What's it doing?
The second hand's ticking.
You'll notice that's actually ticking. It goes click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click, click, click. It's not a constant sweeping.
Yeah.
If you want to know if the clock is original, never been touched, watch its motion. That right there is 100% original motion. There's a lot of things that make this dash come to life. So for a crash course in it, I think she's doing fine.
I don't know if I'm really going to be able to like learn anything from this. I think it's a little bit above my head.
Yeah, that little distributor right there?
Yes.
That's a distributor out of a 440.
Oh,
Pretty
good.
clever, huh? That's how I'm going to
Yeah.
create the signal that goes to the tap. Power on and tack on. And now I have to run this little job. The drill is hooked to an original distributor, so it's simulating it's in a car and spinning around. I want you to watch the tachometer and tell me if it moves.
We're at 1,000.
Nice. 1,000 RPM right there.
Yep. 2,000. We're almost at 3,000.
That's the most the drill will turn. Is that many RPM. So we know that the tack works, and it works in accordance with the speed. So if this drill would do 8,000 RPM, that would do 8,000 RPM. I've tested a lot of gauges and I've worked on a lot of dashes over the years. Specialties did such a great job on it. I go through here and I can show Allysa exactly how the gas gauge works, temperature gauge, oil pressure, all these things, and they actually function like they're supposed to. It's just a pleasure to be able to work on good equipment like that. Okay, so for the speedometer, I put a rheostat in. 3 different speeds.
Low, medium, high.
Low, medium, high is fine. We could have used those. So we're going to turn the power on right here. I want to turn it down to the lowest speed, and I'm going to hit speedo.
Okay. Pretty cool.
So that is a 1970 Dodge Charger with a 318 in it.
Okay.
Now, let's take the same car and put a 446 pack in it, a V code, if you will.
115.
That's crazy.
Very cool.
And there's the big 426 Hemi. Fuel.
Fuel.
I'm
Yep,
going to make
yep.
a connection to the fuel. I took a fuel sending unit out of one of the cars so that I have the same rheostatic values that it would have if it was in the car, and then I can simulate if it's a half tank, full tank, empty, and that'll tell me if the gauge is working.
It's on empty right now.
Okay, it's on
Below empty.
We're going to go to a quarter of a tank.
Okay, we're almost at a quarter of a tank.
Let's go to a half.
Okay.
Okay.
Half.
And there's a full tank.
And it works.
So when I was a kid, I had to go out and mow yards, or I had to go down and I had to wash cars, or I had to do something and whack somebody's car or earn a little bit of cash, so I put in my gas tank, right? Dougie would just go into his parents and say, I need money for fuel, and voila, that thing would just start heading up to full.
And you hate him for that.
I hate him for that.
Oh
He
my
should never
God.
have had all that. He didn't deserve it.
Temperature gauge.
This is an original Mopar temperature sending unit. So I'm gonna get this hot. Inside this is water. And when the water's at around 200 degrees, the outside of it's at around 100.
Okay.
So I gotta get this up to 100, and that should read 200. Here we go. So it should be starting to walk up now. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me when you see it hit 200? Almost there, almost there.
Okay, it's at 200.
All right, that looks like 200 there. So I'll go over here.
Smells like 200.
And I've got 99, 100, 103, and that's at 200. The functionality of the test bench is great because it not only shows me that the gauges are working, but that they're accurate too. Now, oil I'm controlling with air pressure, it's at 0, right? So what I've done is I've taken a cheater valve or an air valve and I've connected it through fittings into an original gauge style oil pressure sending unit. As I increase air pressure, I'm gonna go to 20, and I want you to tell me when that goes to 20. That's about 20 there.
Okay, it's rising, yep.
And that looks like 20. I'm gonna go to 40.
Where should it be at?
Most of the engines that we build, when they're warm and idling, they'll have 60 pounds of oil pressure. When they're cold and the oil's cold and thick, it's always a lot higher. You can get 80 to 100. That looks like 40.
Yep.
And then let's just go ahead and go to 60 for fun. So there's 60, so that's great. So we know for a fact that we've got all of our stuff working, all of our gauges are working, which is very important. All systems go. I did save my favorite thing for the last. When I was a kid and I had these cars, I drove around town with an 8-track blaring. So the final thing is cousin Dougie has a tape that I gave him that we can pop in there and play.
Dude, what?
Of course he has it. He's got that. He's also got and Beer by Frank Zappa. If you want to test it out, go over there and turn the big silver button on. Clickety-clack it. Now go 12-volt constant. You'll notice the lights on the dash light up right now because I have those on. That means you also have power to your radio. So pop that in there.
Good gosh.
And wiggle a little bit. There you go. I don't like the rocks, but I'm digging steeple shimmy. A Ford's ain't my bag. I'd rather drive a Hemi. Driving down the road, throwing me the
What
gears.
is this?
Yes, this is method acting. This is what they call it.
It's a joke.
The thing about comedy is it's all about timing, all right? You see me standing here in this outfit and you think, oh, he's going for the joke again. No, this is method acting. You ask me what kind of businessman I am, I guess the way I would probably put it is I'm a friend first, a boss second, and probably an entertainer third.
Oh man, your mom ain't nothing.
Like a 6-pack to a Hemi, a small block to a Ram. I don't like Camaros, but I love green eggs and ham.
The primer's all mixed up, Carz in the booth, everything looks good. I'm going to head in the booth and get the first coat of primer going on our 1969 Daytona. Daytona is primed, looks really, really good. This is our body man's first car that he's done. We kind of, helped him out by giving him a clean car to start. We got a couple little things, but it's only our first prime. We'll get those addressed as it goes forward, but this car is going to go through the shop very quickly.
It's 1975, you and your buddies on a Friday night are going out to cruise. You have a choice between a 1970 Cuda 446 barrel 4-speed shaker hood in black and a 1970 Challenger 446 pack 4-speed in plum crazy. For me, I always loved the way the Challengers drove, but you can't argue with a shaker hood Cuda. But it's not about me. You make the call. Go to graveyardcars.com and vote which one of these you would like to be cruising on a Saturday or a Friday night up at the Gut. We will reveal the answer next week live on Facebook.
This car is going to go through the shop very quickly.
So far, Will got the Daytona primered and ready for mud work. Mark and Allysa made sure the newly restored Coronet dash was in perfect working condition.
So that's great. So we know for a fact that we've got all of our stuff working, all of our gauges are working, which is very important.
And with only a few days to get the car completed.
Broken, need replacement, thanks. That's the convertible top motor for the Coronet.
A problem with the convertible top motor may halt progress on this ultra-rare Hemi Convertible.
The creeps from the dark. Rocky called them the bums from the dark. Why are you in my office again?
You got something.
You're an idiot. Did he just bring this in? This is Dougie, all right? I pointed out that he had a mild obsession with mannequins, so he thought it'd be funny to get mannequin arms. So now he has mannequin arms. Every time you turn around, there's a mannequin arm. You know what that is right there? That's a thumbs up. This is his chicken scratch. New pump is here. So the motor just showed up from Classic Industries. I can get the Ghouls to put that in, which is very important, because once that's in and the top can go up and down like it's supposed to, I can have Larry come out to do,
So you're able to call Torino then?
as I was saying, the installation of the convertible top. Yeah, I'm gonna call him. Here's a new pump for Torino's car. My question would be, why is it on my desk and not in the car? I'm not waiting for it. I'm not installing it. I'm gonna call him, okay? I don't know why you're getting so. Yes, I'll call him. I promise I'll call him, yes.
He said something about letting you know so that you let him know when it arrives.
Yeah, I didn't need to know when it arrived. I needed to know that it was here and being put on. I'm excited to announce that we're getting really close on our Coronet. So this is our 70 Coronet RT, 426 Hemi, 4-speed convertible. Now remember, this is the only one left on the planet like it. We've got the build almost done. We're down to installing the dash and the rest of the interior. And then Larry is out today installing the top. So we're all gonna be working on it at certain times together. So now that we have the pump in and it's bled and the system's working, the top is functioning like it's supposed to, all I have, I'm gonna call the owner. I told you I was gonna call the owner. I have to put the bumblebee stripe on the car. I told you that a million times. You look exactly like that big dude, the revolting blob from Billy Madison. We are now at the point where we can put the dash in the car. Larry has been working stewardly on getting it in a position where he's ready to put the material on. He got that far today, so we had him stop. Royal is here today. I haven't worked with Royal for quite a while, as everybody knows. Doug, cousin Dougie, the mannequin man, is here. And we also have a greenhorn. It's a good chance for him to see how these things go together. So I'm looking forward to getting that put in there, because once that's in, then they can operate the top and the windows and everything from the switches themselves instead of having to hotwire them.
I've worked with Doug quite often, not lately, but back in the day when we were working on his CUDA.
I had a 70 Barracuda Grand Coupe back in the day that I cut my teeth on. Yeah, did a lot of work on that one.
So while they're just finishing getting that ready to come off of there, they're gonna come in around your way, so you'll need to move in a minute. You know, Graveyard Cars is a business first. I mean, we do have fun. We get to make a show and entertain everybody and get to see some of these beautiful cars. But we are a restoration shop, and that means we have employees. These are real people that have real lives. Some people stay with us longer than others. There's been a changing of the guards. So today, Doug will be installing the dash with one of our new technicians. Now, this guy is young, he's bright, he's been doing this with his father for many, many years. And from what I can tell, he may indeed have X-ray vision. When you do one of these, you'll want help, always. This is a pivot point. The nice thing about the Mopar is this bolt right here and the one that's on your side, they're gonna come in and set that down and anchor it. So there's a bracket built into the frame. It'll set it down, that unit will be here. You can roll it up or down like that. While it's down, they may have you help hold it. They'll go underneath the dash and they'll make all the connections that need to be made that are so hard to do if you were laying upside down. They're butter now. Then he will roll that up into place. We'll go into these screw holes right here and it'll be a done dash. We try to educate the folks at home on where it bolts into the car and what to watch for and why now is a great time to fix anything that does go wrong before you put seats and interior in it.
Okay, can you hold that for a second?
Yep, I got it.
Can you set yours on, Doug?
Contact.
Hey, look at that.
We've learned the Challenger Trans Am was a pretty cool car, lots of standard stuff on it. One of the things that jumps out at you most because it's so big is the fiberglass hood. Now, if you bought a 69.5 A12 Roadrunner or Super Bee, you also got a fiberglass cold air induction hood. True or false? The hood on the Trans Am Challenger is exactly like the A12, meaning there are no hood hinges. If you think you know the answer, stay tuned after the break. All right, my Ghouls, how did you do on this one? Challenger Trans Am, 1970, mid-year introduction, N94, fiberglass, cold air induction hood. Does it use hood hinges? If you said yes, you're right. If you said no, you're probably thinking of the sister 69.5 A12 cars that used a fiberglass cold air induction hood that two guys had to lift it off and either set it up on the roof or on the ground just to check the oil. So they might have learned something from that, and not only did they put hinges on it, but they also put a lightweight, smaller spring so the hood wouldn't buckle when you went to close it. You guys should be paying me for this stuff. One of the things I'm asked the most at shows is why would you replace a part instead of recondition it? Original is always best, no doubt about it, but is it cost effective? And in the end, would anybody know? So you take like these oil filler caps, these breather caps. This is a new one. This is a original 69 Dodge Super Bee. If you look at them, obviously, the brand new chrome one from Tony is just beautiful. So what you'd have to do to make this unit look like that unit is disassemble it completely, send it out and have it plated, and then reassemble it back together again. I think that by the time you did that, you'd find that you're way, way cost effective by using this one. And this one is a valid choice because the top of that, they are identical. If you look at the height of both of them, absolutely identical. If you look at the nipples that the breather hose goes onto, now this one and this one are the exact same diameters. The only difference is very subtle, and you'd only notice it if the breather hose wasn't on, and that is this nipple. This extruded nipple right here is a little bit fatter than the factory one right here. Again, that gets a hose over it with a clamp, you'd never see it. If you turn the two units over, they look identical as well. They have the same spring style clip. They have the same type of grooving in this base down here. The only difference between these two that's visible is when you look at the rivet, if you will, that holds that spring clip in, it's flush across the top here. And on this one, it has a little bit of a divot right in the middle of it, a small recess. So you would have to take that off at a car show, turn it over, and look at it to see if it was one of Tony's replicas or if it was an original. Now, if you're going to an OE national judging and you hope to do silver or bronze or gold, I would say spend the money, get an NOS one of these, or have it redone, completely reconditioned. But for the rest of you, the 99 and 44 100% that are just going to car shows and enjoying their car, get this and save a lot of money. Yeah, just set that on there. So right now the guys are just making the connections underneath the dash, the ones that are really easy. They're putting the cables and everything in. They're connecting the defroster vents. Roy, you can go ahead and put that connection right there for the heater. And I think that is going to be your last connection that you need to make, it looks like to me. So yes, you're going to roll it up. That, get my hand out of the way. Lift up. Nice work, gentlemen. That's how it's supposed to go. Good work, Rooster. Well, you're just a crazy man.
How fast would you want to drive this car?
120, 130.
Speedometer goes to 150. We'd have to see if it did it.
Oh, okay, I guess we did, didn't we?
Oh, but not on the street. We didn't do that on the street. That's cool.
Do that. They love that from back in season 3. Do it. They love. Will I ride? Yeah. The Ghouls did a great job of installing the dash in the car. So, you know, with that done, that's a huge step in the right direction. What?
Are you going to call Tree now?
I'm not going to call the guy that owns the car now. The guy just got a dash and I still got a convertible top motor that's not working. So don't.
So you're going to call him after the vinyl top?
I'll call him after the convertible top. It's not a vinyl top. You need to worry as much about losing weight as you do about what I'm going to do. So we got the dash installed. I just want to take a second to make sure that you appreciate the craftsmanship, not only of the guys that restored the dash, Instrument Specialty, that's beautiful, they always do, but just the idea behind it back in 1970. So you've heard me talk about the 67 being really the last year for the real luxury muscle cars like the GTX, where A-pillars were chrome and there was a lot of chrome on the dash. You can almost see where they went back to a lot of that luxurious look, at least for this model right here. You got the wood grain dash, it's highlighted with all the chrome. You had the black shadow inside of all the gauges. It's just such a rich, neat look that you won't see in today's cars. You're talking about a 70 Coronet RT convertible. It's the only one in the world like it. 426 Hemi, 4-speed, super track pack. And something like that just tops it off. It just makes everything from here funner for us. There are certain things that you just really enjoy the hell out of. And something like that that's in place that's that beautiful, you enjoy it. You just have to. If you don't, something's wrong with you. It's like Dougie. I think something's wrong with Dougie. You know.
We have the Daytona. This was a running and driving Survivor car. If it was my car, I probably would have just left it. I love that feel the car had. But I get it, the owner wants it looking brand new, no problem. But once it came back from the dipper, I mean, everything was good. There was no weirdness. We didn't have to work on getting parts to fit right or working on our lines. We literally got it back from the dipper. It just went right together like it should, like it did before it got dipped. So it's a very clean car, and when you have a clean car to start with, the process speeds up by 10. So I've walked around the car, everything on it looks great. I'm gonna roll it back over to the mudroom where the team can hop on it and start getting it blocked out, getting it ready for another primer. It was a really good idea on Mark's part to build this building out here because we keep all the dust out here. That really helps keep our showroom looking good all the time because when this was over there, it was just too much work and too much upkeep to keep the cars looking good. So now it's all isolated out here, all the dust is out here, and we got a cleaner product over there. We're still not sure what's going on with Seaman the A100, but we still have to push forward like it's going. So while he's going to be working on the Daytona, he's got the A100 trying to get wrapped up so I can jump on that here in the next week or two.
Our 64 Dodge A100, the little dead wagon, is coming along nicely. Engine's down at Ray Barton getting built out, around 1,000 horsepower, in case you're wondering. The only problem is our timeline is getting shorter and shorter as we go.
We got a really good crew right now, and Mark's kind of giving me control of the back half of the shop. No, that side looks really good, for sure. It's straight. I think you need a little fine tuning on your lines, just tighten them up a little bit. The level of quality that we do and that I make sure happens is right on point with what Mark wants. Just make sure little things like this, just a little slag, nothing big. It looks really good, so I know Mark will be happy with it. Good job. Everything looked really good, just a couple of tweakings. The lines are just super critical on that car. Just tighten the lines up a little bit, and that car's gonna go through the shop pretty quick.
Well, right now we're running down to some of the last things that need to be done on our car. So Larry came out today for the install of the convertible top. As soon as that's done, we can wrap up the interior and I can call Brett up. I know he's been very patient. We're about 2 years over on this one. So thank you, Brett. But in the end, I think it'll have been worth the wait. I'm with Allysa right now to put the Bumblebee stripe on our 1970 Coronet RT 426 Hemi. How many were built?
One of two.
One of two, see? Okay, got everything laid out. This is all you need to be able to put the V9W on that car. You want to make sure that the side marker opening is right in the center of the decal. The problem is, if you put that center deck lid on that decal first, and its trajectory is off just a hair, when you go to put the quarter panel one on, it won't be centered with the opening. So you've got to put it centered with the opening perfectly, go do the other side centered with it perfectly, then you put the center one on. This is a 3-part stripe. It has a part that goes on the deck lid itself, one that goes vertically on the left quarter panel, and one that goes vertically on the right quarter panel. You could line them up, put them on there, get all the air out of it, get all the moisture out from underneath it, get them stuck down only to find out that they're not straight. Okay, tell me if that looks straight up and down to you. I would say pretty darn close.
I think it's going okay. I am actually trying to learn this time and trying to be a part of it.
The only thing is right now we're trying to beat the heat. In another 2 hours, it'll be 100 degrees in here. Decals, that solution kicks like that. And if it kicks in the middle of something before you get the bubbles out of it, you're ordering another decal. Alyssa's doing good. She's actually paying attention, and it's difficult because I want to get going and get the thing done, but at the same time, she's here for a reason, and she's trying to absorb it, and I'm working with her to do that. So, like I say, I won't always be here to do it. This is exactly how Dodge intended the stripe to go on. So it's my feeling that when people say, well, you're not doing an OEM restoration, I mean, there are parts of it that aren't. This is a great example. We're not just slapping it on there and saying it is what it is, live with it. We're in control of making sure that the body and the paint are as close to perfect as possible. They didn't have that luxury back then. We're in the position to make sure that the decals are installed and oriented correctly. They didn't have the luxury of time back then. They were putting out a lot of cars. So in this particular case, yes, our restoration work is better than the factory, more accurate than the factory. Fantastic job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Now that's the way it's supposed to go, right? She paid attention, she was focused, she did her job right, and it pushed us near the line where we need to be. So time is running out, but in reality, it's just good to have something like that under our belt. Yeah, camera. Does it ever get old? Just constantly creeping on people with your damn camera? All right, I gotta call Brett Torino and let him know that we've only got a week left on his car. That'll make him very, very happy. Hey, this is Mark. Warman, Graveyard Cars. That's funny. I just got the message actually off my machine. And that's why I was calling you back. Of course I got the call earlier in the day, but you know, there's certain things that, you know, I can show you a glass where it's half full on the chart. This is TV land, man. It's TV land. Everything crazy out here. It was ironic that you left me a message because I was gonna call you and leave you a message. I didn't lie to the client. I don't need to lie to our clients, okay? First of all, there's a big difference between a lie and an alternate fact, all right? That was just an alternate fact, number one. Number two is, like George Costanza said, it's not a lie if you believe it. So, you know, where do you go from there? No, what I was gonna say was we've got exactly from today, mark your calendar, this is good news, we got 1 week. I've got just a few things left to do. Yeah, just a shade under 4 years. But it's beautiful. And it's done the way it should be. It's the way $1.5 million car should look. So, are you just gonna book it based on that? So I should plan on seeing you a week from today, or? Well, my friend, if I say it's a week from today, it's a week from today. If I tell somebody their car's gonna be done in a week, I tell you what you can do. You can take that little message, you can have a little stamp made, put it in some ink, put it on the back of a check and deposit it, because it's money in the bank. See you in a week. All right. Bye-bye. I don't know if I'll make a week or not. All right, guys, what do you think of the van? How do you like it?
I love
It's ugly.
It is not ugly. It's a
cool.
19. It is cool.
It's a Sportsman Royale.
Yeah, it's a Royal. So I think we had a pretty good week.
Great week.
Will got the Daytona primer. That's a huge step. That means it can go over to the mudroom now and start getting worked on. And so now on the dash test bench, did you learn anything?
That you can put your hits on an 8-track?
Well, there's that. Go and tell your mom.
Drop it in the slot.
Quarter in the slot. Anyway, the guys did a great job getting the power top motor replaced in it. Classic Industries had one in stock, which is great.
Nice.
Allowed us to be able to put it together quickly. Larry came out and did the convertible top. And Royal, I'd like to thank you for helping Cousin Dougie put the dash in that car.
That was fun.
Alyssa helped me do the Bumblebee stripe, thank you.
You're welcome.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Super nice.
All right, guys, so we did good.
Great.
This is our celebration, baby. The celebration.
Celebrate good times. Come on!